The Baltimore Ravens just hit rock bottom, and the way things are going, it's hard to say they've even seen the worst yet. A crushing loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in Semana Numero Cuatro exposed way more than just bad football. It revealed a fractured team, a locker room in disarray, and leadership that seems completely out of sync. And here's the thing. This wasn't just a routine loss to a tough opponent. This was a total collapse, a no-show on both sides of the ball, and a clear sign that something deeper is wrong in Baltimore. Losing to the Chiefs by a score of 30 to Vint is already bad enough. But what makes this loss stand out, and not in a good way, is how uncompetitive the Ravens looked throughout the game. They didn't just lose. They gave up. And you could feel that energy from the opening whistle all the way to the end. The frustration was written all over Lamar Jackson's face. The body language from key veterans was off. And when the final whistle blew, it wasn't just fans who were stunned. The team itself looked defeated, mentally and emotionally. But the real story came after the game. A report out of the Ravens locker room painted a disturbing picture. Not only was the locker room dead silent, as expected after a loss like that, but several of the team's core leaders either avoided the media or bolted before anyone could even ask a question. That's not how leaders act. That's not what championship teams do. According to the report, guys like Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith were out the door before reporters even stepped in. And while Humphrey left injured, fair enough, Roquan reportedly has made a habit of disappearing after losses, never sticking around to speak. That matters, especially when we're talking about a guy who's supposed to be the heart and soul of your defense, the emotional engine of this team. Roquan Smith is the guy fans look to, the one dropping fire quotes during the week, motivating teammates, showing swagger and confidence. But in the moments where that leadership is needed most, after a gut-wrenching loss, he's gone. Out the door. No words. No ownership. That kind of silence speaks volumes, and not in a good way. Zay Flowers was reportedly the next one to leave the locker room, despite not being injured. Then Owa declined to speak. These are the guys who are supposed to represent your franchise when times get tough. And instead, they left the rookies and backups to face the heat. Players like Tavius Robinson and John Jenkins, guys who don't even have established roles yet, were the ones left behind to answer questions. That's a tough position to be in, and honestly, it's embarrassing for a franchise that prides itself on accountability and toughness. One player who did step up, though, was Kyle Hamilton, after his now infamous, spoiled comment earlier in the week, which, by the way, didn't sit well with anyone. He stood there and owned it. He took accountability, said it was a poor choice of words. That's what real leaders do. They don't run. They face the music, especially after a performance like that. Hamilton might be young, but he's showing a level of maturity and self-awareness that's lacking in some of the vets right now. And then there's the head coach. John Harbaugh is taking heat, and a lot of it. It feels like the pressure around him has reached a boiling point. There's this growing sentiment among fans that his voice in the locker room has gone stale. And let's be honest, Harbaugh's post-game messaging hasn't helped. When asked about the embarrassing delay of game penalties back-to-back, by the way, he said, "That's never really been an issue for us." Come on. Ravens fans have had to suffer through the Greg Roman era. The play clock winding down to zero, the penalties, the chaos. That was literally a hallmark of that offense for years. To act like it's a surprise now just feels disconnected from reality. And then there's the quote that really lit a fire under the fan base. Harbaugh said something along the lines of, "If you think this is Super Bowl or bust, you've never been competitive." What? This is Super Bowl or bust. You don't give Lamar Jackson a massive contract, bring in Derrick Henry, retool your offense and defense, and then try to pretend like it's not about winning at all. That mindset doesn't sit right. And it's part of why this team feels broken right now. The messaging from the top is weak. The players aren't responding, and fans can feel it. This loss wasn't just about missed tackles or failed third-down conversions. It wasn't just about Lamar's interception or the offense stalling out. It was about the total lack of cohesion, leadership, and accountability. The Ravens looked like a team that didn't believe, a team that wasn't playing for each other. And that's the scariest part of all this, because fixing execution is one thing, but fixing a broken locker room? That's a whole different challenge. And let's talk about Lamar for a second. He didn't play well. That's just facts. He finished with 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and a fumble that was more unlucky than careless. But this isn't on him. Lamar has carried this team on his back too many times to count. He's earned the right to have an off day. What's frustrating is how quickly the rest of the team seems to fold when that happens. Where's the support? Where's the urgency? Instead, it looked like the Ravens gave up halfway through the third quarter, down by 3 scores, with the Chiefs pulling away, and it just felt like they mentally checked out. The Chiefs, by the way, didn't even have to punt until the final 3 minutes of the game. That's how bad the defense was. Kansas City moved the ball at will, and it didn't matter if it was 3rd down, 4th down. The Ravens just couldn't get a stop. 4 for 4 on 4th downs. That's backbreaking stuff. It's not just a bad day. It's a system failure, a coaching failure, a leadership failure. Meanwhile, the Ravens' run game was working, averaging nearly 10 yards per carry, and they still abandoned it. Why? Why go away from what's working, especially when Lamar clearly wasn't having his best day? It's like they get too caught up in trying to be fancy against Kansas City, trying to outsmart Andy Reid instead of just playing to their strengths. It's baffling. And that's what this whole thing boils down to. The identity of this team is lost. You can't point to one unit and say, yeah, at least they've got that figured out. The offense is shaky. The defense is a disaster. The coaching staff looks overwhelmed. The messaging from the head coach is confusing. The veterans are hiding, and the young players are left to clean up the mess. That's not a formula for success. That's a recipe for implosion. The Ravens are now 1-3. The season is far from over, but the hole is getting deeper, and the sense of urgency is nowhere to be found. If this team doesn't wake up, and fast, the rest of the season could get ugly. There's no more time for sugar-coated press conferences or dodging hard questions. Something has to change. Whether it's a coaching shake-up, a trade, a leadership reset, something has to shift inside that building. Because right now, the Baltimore Ravens are not a football team. They're a bunch of talented individuals playing scared, disconnected, and without a voice to rally behind. The situation with the Baltimore Ravens has gone from frustrating to outright alarming, and it's impossible to ignore the elephant in the room. Anymore, John Harbaugh is losing this team. You can feel it. You can see it. And most importantly, the players are showing it with their actions. After a decade and a half at the helm, the voice that once united the locker room now feels stale, repetitive, and completely disconnected from the urgency this moment demands. The cracks that were small last season have now widened into full-blown fractures. And if something doesn't change soon, this team is going to implode. Let's talk about Harbaugh for a minute, because for the last few years, he's gotten a pass. When the Ravens came up short, it was blamed on Greg Roman, or Wink Martindale, or bad luck with injuries, or Lamar needing more weapons. There was always a shield in front of Harbaugh, a reason why it wasn't really his fault. But now, that list of excuses has dried up. The offensive coordinator is new. The defensive coordinator is young and in over his head. The quarterback is a former MVP with a massive contract. The roster is stacked on paper. The stadium is full. The expectations were set. And here we are, 1-3, after getting embarrassed by the Chiefs in front of the whole football world. This isn't just about one bad game. It's about a pattern. The Ravens have lost games like this before. The difference now is the vibe. It's worse than it's ever been. There's no confidence, no chemistry, no accountability. And Harbaugh, for all his experience, is standing at the podium saying the same things he always does. We'll get it fixed. We have to be better. There's a lot of football left. That might work when you're 2-1. Maybe even when you're 2-2. But at 1-3, with players visibly tuning out, those words just fall flat. Fans don't buy it. The locker room doesn't buy it. And honestly, Harbaugh probably doesn't believe it anymore either. Go back and watch the game against Kansas City. Watch the sideline. Look at the body language. The defense looked completely defeated by the second half. Players had their heads down. Nobody was rallying each other. Nobody was showing fire or grit. When Isaiah Pacheco ran over Nate Wiggins late in the game, a play that should have never happened because the starters shouldn't even have been on the field, it wasn't just a bad moment. It was a statement. This team is out of sync, out of touch, and worst of all, out of answers. And what exactly was Harbaugh thinking leaving key guys on the field when the game was already out of reach? Cooper Rush is in for the Chiefs. The score is a blowout. And yet Nate Wiggins, a valuable young piece, is still playing defense and ends up getting hurt. That's not coaching with purpose. That's coaching with pride, with ego, refusing to admit the game is over even when the scoreboard screams it. And now they might lose a promising young corner for weeks because of that decision. That's on the head coach. No one else. Defensively, the Ravens are a mess. Zach may have a bright future in the NFL, but right now, he looks overwhelmed. The unit has no identity, no cohesion, and the adjustments, when they happen at all, are ineffective. This defense used to be feared. Now they're just easy to figure out. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes did whatever they wanted out there. The Chiefs converted on every fourth down they tried. They moved the ball methodically, surgically, and with almost no resistance. The Ravens had no answers. And that falls back on preparation, game planning, and ultimately, coaching. Roquan Smith was supposed to be the leader of this defense, but when he's not answering questions after losses and walking out of the locker room early, what kind of message is that sending to the rest of the team? Again, nobody's saying a player has to love talking to the media, but part of being a captain, part of being a leader, is showing up when it's hard. Anyone can give a good quote after a win. Real leadership is standing tall in the losses, in the ugly moments, when people want answers. Right now, Roquan is missing in those moments. That matters. The veterans are quiet. The head coach is defensive. The team's young players are left to do the talking. And meanwhile, fans are watching this team collapse in real time. It's a slow-motion car crash, and nobody inside the building seems to be hitting the brakes. After the game, Justice Hill said something that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He mentioned how nobody's going to remember Week 3 or Week 4. That couldn't be more wrong. Every single game matters. Go back to last year. One bad loss in September can be the difference between a first-round bye and going on the road in January. This idea that early season games don't carry weight is exactly the kind of mentality that gets teams in trouble. That quote didn't just sound off. It sounded like it came from a locker room that doesn't fully grasp how dangerous the current situation is. And here's the part that really stings. This Ravens roster is too good to be playing this poorly. Even with the injuries, there's enough talent to win games. But the execution is sloppy. The game plans are confusing. The decision-making is inconsistent. It feels like every week, they're reacting instead of attacking. And that's what separates good teams from great ones. The ability to dictate, to impose your will. The Ravens? Right now, they're just trying to hang on. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, rumors are swirling that Josh Sweat, the dynamic defensive end formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, has officially abandoned the Birds to join the Baltimore Ravens. While neither team has released a formal statement, sources close to the situation suggest that Sweat's decision could dramatically reshape the AFC North and leave the NFC East scrambling to adjust. Sweat, known for his explosive speed off the edge and relentless pursuit of quarterbacks, has long been a cornerstone of Philadelphia's pass rush. Over the past seasons, his ability to disrupt plays in the backfield has made him one of the league's most feared defenders, and speculation about his future has been growing ever since contract talks reportedly hit a snag. Insiders hint that Baltimore's aggressive pursuit and promise of a leading role in a revamped defensive scheme were too tempting for Sweat to resist. For the Ravens, who have been quietly bolstering their defensive line, the addition of Sweat could be a game-changer. Baltimore has consistently been known for its defensive toughness, but rumors suggest that team leadership has been eager to add a true edge rusher who can apply constant pressure. Sweat's rumored signing, if confirmed, would instantly give the Ravens one of the league's most potent pass-rushing duos, pairing his speed with Baltimore's established stars. Fans are buzzing about the potential synergy, imagining Sweat wreaking havoc on opposing quarterbacks in a defense that already carries a reputation for dominance. Meanwhile, the Eagles are said to be in a state of quiet panic. Losing a key player like Sweat could leave significant gaps in their defensive rotation, forcing them to consider trades, free agent pickups, or shifts in strategy. The locker room, sources suggest, has been abuzz with speculation, with players reportedly expressing both shock and disappointment at Sweat's decision to leave the franchise he helped solidify. As the NFL world waits for confirmation, social media is alive with debate. Analysts are dissecting how Sweat's move could tilt the balance of power in the conference, and fans on both sides are already imagining the highlight reels. Whether this is a calculated masterstroke by Baltimore or a shocking betrayal from Philadelphia, one thing is clear. Josh Sweat's rumored shift has everyone talking, and the coming season may never look the same. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.